everybody. For the record, it's February 8th, 2018, 5:15 p.m. Time for the regular meeting of the Wenatchee City Council. Call the meeting to order. The first item would be to pledge to our flag. Councilmember Huffaker, would you lead us?
Absolutely. You all stand, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Huffaker. And for the record, we have 6 in attendance today. Councilmember Harold is feverishly working for the Apple Blossom Royalty Selection pageant on Saturday night, so she is doing her warm-up duty today. First item on our agenda is this evening's consent items, which includes the agenda, vouchers, and the minutes from the previous meeting.
All right, I make a motion to approve the agenda, the vouchers, and minutes from the previous meeting.
Second?
Motion by Councilmember Huffaker, second by Councilmember Bailey to approve this evening's consent items, including the agenda, the vouchers, and the minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is citizen comment. This would be a time if any member of the audience would like to come up and address the council on any item. Give you 3 minutes and ask that you give us your name and address for the record. Joe, come on up.
10. Good evening. I'm Joe Morrison. I live at 310 White Birch Place. And I just have a quick question, more than a comment. I was part of the Voting Rights Committee appointed by this council. We delivered our report, and I know there's been some time lag with the elections last year that the council was going to try and bring it up, I think, fairly soon this year. I was just checking in to see what the time frame would be for trying to get that for a vote.
Yeah, and I don't know, we talked about it at one of our original meetings in January, and we didn't really have a sort of a time frame, so I'm kind of looking into the council members. I know there's a little bit about watching the Voters' Right Act in Olympia and seeing if that passes to allow the, I'll get this wrong, the district voting to be done by districts by themselves and not by the city as a whole. So I think we've been watching a little bit of that, so I'm prepared to bring it to the council whenever they're ready to have that sort of deliberation. So
We had a consensus that we were waiting until the legislative session ended and we knew what happened with the Voter Rights Act, so we weren't going to step into something that we'd have to turn around and change.
It's my understanding that the act would only give a private right of action to somebody under the state law if they felt like their jurisdiction was not or needed to change to districts. But I'm not sure it would impact whether the city itself would make a decision.
But again, we had a consensus that we were waiting. The next city election is not until 2019, so another month or two is not going to jeopardize us for hitting a 2019 cycle.
Okay, so once the session is done, you'll try and get it on the calendar. That's my understanding.
yeah, I think that's, yeah. I would bring it back to the council to discuss as soon as the session's over.
Great, thanks very
All right,
much.
thanks, Joe. Anybody else wish to address the council on any items? All right, seeing no takers, we'll move on to our action items. The first regarding our curb grant. Steve King.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Steve King, Economic Development Director. Tonight, we're having something that you've already seen before. Back in November, you guys adopted a resolution that authorized us to apply for a curb grant, which ended up being a grant loan combination. And we're here tonight to ask for authorization for the same action to allow the mayor to enter into a contract with CURB. That's required by CURB. This resolution is actually pretty much their resolution. So just for a refresher, the amount for the CURB loan is $859,409, and the grant is $113,776. It's a 20-year term, 2.5% interest rate, about $55,000 a year payment, and this is being used to purchase the right-of-way east of the railroad tracks, which would be the McKittrick Street extension right-of-way where Stemilt, the fires were on the Stemilt property.
And if you drive down there now, that building where the purple line is on your map has been removed, and the work for Diamond Foundry is taking place inside that building. But the building's down and its survey's done and they're ready for us to move forward. I think we're just trading some appraisal numbers at this point, but there's every indication this should be closed in the next 30 days or so.
Steve, just a couple of quick things, I guess, on the memo that you sent to us. I guess it kind of intimated that the process of doing the building or something was kind of still yet to come or whatever, but I assume I was down there myself yesterday, and the wall is up. But related to that, I think is two questions. One is the way the purple line is there. Is there ain't going to be any substantial setback at all between the street and the building, or is the street going to go right up against the wall?
It's pretty close. It's within, I believe, 3 feet, and that's an 80-foot right-of-way too. So we actually have some extra right-of-way width per the North Wenatchee plan. But yeah, the right-of-way line will be 3 feet off the wall. It'll be like a downtown type environment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it won't be like Columbia Street there where you're
No.
driving right next to the building there. Okay. And then the pedestrian access and those kind of improving the pedestrian access, people going across there. Now they're probably not supposed to, but improving that. The work that's done on that, or is there any, or I guess my question is, are we kind of going to be spending a bunch of money that then eventually have to be torn out when we put the underpass in, or?
Oh, no, so this is just for the purchase
is
of
this-
the right-of-way.
Okay.
Yeah, so what this will allow us to do is, this would be, our infra grant anticipates building this, so we'd build we won't be building in improvements until we have an underpass funded.
Okay.
So we won't be duplicating work.
Duplicating,
Yeah.
spending money we have to
Yeah.
undo kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the consensus is that if we purchase the right-of-way on the eastern side, we're obviously not going to do anything there unless we have to. And on the western side, we're just going to go up into the cross where it crosses and allow the access to go north and south, but we probably won't improve all the way to the railroad tracks until, again, we need to, or infra grant, or if there's another reason to do that. So
Yeah, okay.
it's mostly about just getting the right-of-way, because if you got the right-of-way after they put in a bunch of improvements and built buildings over it, you'd never get it. So
Oh, yeah.
this
No,
is the cheapest time for us if we're ever going to put a road in, is to get in the middle of that one. And the folks at Semilt have been great because they tore down a building. We haven't bought the right-of-way yet, right? We have a handshake, but we haven't got to the finish line yet. So there's a lot of faith between about 3 parties working on that deal.
Good.
All right, if there's any other questions for Steve, I'd entertain a motion.
Well, Your Honor, I would move that we authorize the, let's see, how's that? Okay. That we adopt resolution number 2018-08 of the City of Wenatchee, Washington, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute on behalf of the City of Wenatchee an agreement between the Washington State Community Economic Revitalization Board and the City of Wenatchee for aid in financing the costs of public facilities consisting of the McKittrick Street Extension Project.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Bailey, second by Councilmember Markart to adopt resolution 2018-08, authorizing the mayor's signature on the curb grant and loan as provided in your packet for the McKittrick Street extension. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Next up, a couple of financial policies. One is travel and business expense, and the other is our financial policy revision. So, Brad?
Good evening, council members. I'm presenting resolution 2018-6 to update the city's travel and business expense policies. Updating this policy provides some guidance when the departments are recognizing and incentivizing employees, and the provisions in the policy are pretty much standard business practice, and even some of the language in the policy is based on the state of Washington. They've got a policy on recognition and incentivizing their employees. And so this basically is putting something in writing so that when the state auditors, when they audit us, they'll see that we have a policy for this. And any questions?
It keeps everything fair too. So, you know, the favorite doesn't get more for the retirement and
That's right.
One thing, so that Mr. Scrivener doesn't have to come and visit us in a month or two, on the top of page 23 of 54 for our agenda packet, the section is non-travel food and beverage reimbursement policy regarding city employee and non-travel status. The first addition there, city funds may be, I think that should be probably used.
I think you're correct.
Yeah, I just didn't want Mr. Scrivener to have to come back.
Maybe used to.
We would have
You don't
snuck
like
that D in there at some point.
It's used. The Utes are going to use it.
That's-
Brad, when you're setting figures, you know, in terms of limits and those kinds of things, yes, you know, we make policies and then those things often don't get revisited for a while, and then pretty soon they're out of date or behind. I know certainly when you're dealing with per diems and those sort of things that, you know, if you don't do anything for them for 10 years, why pretty soon the per diem for breakfast won't buy you a cup of coffee at Starbucks.
Yeah.
You have the, you know, the 200 on the retirement thing, $200. Is there any kind of an escalator, kind of inflation thing, or is it just something we're going to have to revisit from time to time?
At this point, it's built into something we'd have to revisit from time to time, and having an active finance committee that's very involved with their policies, I think that wouldn't be too much trouble, and it seems like, and I think we should be. I feel like I should be revisiting these every couple of years and taking a fresh look at them every couple of years and talking about them. So I think we'll be able to make those changes when we need to. At this point, that $200 for the retirement celebrations, that was kind of based on when we survey is what's been happening, what amounts have been spent. That was just a ballpark. And if we put some sort of, we could try to tie the $200 to the CPI, but next year it's going to be $203 or so. It just having nice round numbers is. We can revisit it in a couple years, and I'm making it a point to not let these go too many years without being looked at.
Yeah.
I don't think somebody would be bound to squeal anyway when the $200 is not enough anymore. Somebody will bring it back.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we'll hear about it.
All right, any other questions for Brad? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
And I make a motion to adopt resolution number 2018-06, adopting the updated travel and business expenditure policies.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Huffaker, second by Councilmember Esparza to adopt Resolution 2018-06, adopting updated travel and business expense policies. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah.
The next one is our financial management policy, and just make you feel good about us actually revisiting one. This is one we passed my first year as mayor and set up a bunch of policies and stuff. And then Brad has looked at it and said, okay, this is really the way we're kind of doing things. So he's updated it. So Brad,
Yeah.
turn it over to you.
Yeah, as the mayor said, this the financial management policy was originally created in 2012, and now that I've been at the city for a year, I finally got a chance to really dig into it and go through it in detail. And as I was going through it in detail, I noticed that several items were out of date in the financial management policy. So I just wanted to bring it to you as kind of a cleanup, as kind of a cleanup update for this. So I guess, do you have any questions?
On, let's see, it's page 31 of our packet, page 4 of 5 on the reserve policy funds.
Yeah.
In section 1, the rainy day fund, is that the correct number in there?
Has historically been our minimum that we require in the rainy day fund. There currently is
we're
1.5.
just keeping it as a minimum.
Yeah, there currently is 1.5 million in there, but the 1 million is the minimum.
I was trying to remember if it had been raised or we just decided that, but left the minimum there, so that's why I asked.
Yeah, and if you'd like, I guess we could raise that minimum to 1.5, and then if we ever use that, I don't foresee any time soon that we're going to need to touch that rainy day fund. So there always is the option of bumping that up since we have it in there. But
Yeah, we did talk at finance today about there's those three and there's 4 or 5 on the other page and how many of them we've actually hit. And we've got most of them. We're maybe struggling with the cemetery fund and the community center fund and the convent number 2. But I think the rest of them are pretty much we're all hitting. So
I'm fine with those targets.
all right, any other questions for Brad? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I will make a motion to adopt Resolution 2018-07, adopting updated financial management policies.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Esparza, second by Councilmember Markart to adopt Resolution 2018-07, adopting updated financial management policies. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
Jessica,
Good evening.
Washington Water Wastewater Agency Response Network Agreement.
Yes, good evening, everyone. So tonight we have an agreement, and it's a standard agreement for water wastewater utilities here in Washington State. And right now there's 121 members statewide, and what the agreement does is it creates a network of agencies that can respond and help each other out. So this would be for a wastewater emergency, a water emergency. If we need, a particular size fitting for a water emergency and we don't have it on the shelf, we can put a response out to this network and someone else can help provide that in a more timely manner than having to order it from back east and meanwhile have massive catastrophe on our hands. So the benefit of this is it also sets forth some parameters for how people respond. You don't have to respond, so it's entirely up to the utility's discretion whether or not they can provide assistance. You don't have to declare an emergency to say we have an emergency that we need help with, so that's another advantage. And if you do get assistance from someone or agree to provide assistance, there's some ground rules for how you would get reimbursed or that you would be billed. So no marking up of parts just because they're not readily available. You pay whatever that utility paid for those parts, or you pay their staff time as they would normally have gotten paid. You don't have any extra costs. So locally, Douglas County Sewer District, East Wenatchee Water District, the PUD, Malaga Water District, they're all members of this agency already. And there's also some great opportunities for training. They've graciously invited me to participate in some of their trainings in the past, and they've been very informative. So this would just formalize our membership within this network, allow us to take advantage of it, and then also participate in some of their training and tabletop exercises. So, any questions?
Excellent. You answered mine, which was which one of the local agencies are with us, and so sound like they all are.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, and this may be dangerous to assume, but I'm assuming that this, kind of like our liability under this is very similar to what would be with, or used to be with fire and various other interlocals that we have where there's an exchange of personnel and whatever. So we're not incurring any significantly greater liability by getting engaged here.
No, I don't think so. We still have to act reasonably and prudent. We're responsible for our own acts, but we're not responsible for anybody else's activity.
Okay.
So as long as, we act normally, we're fine.
Yeah. Okay.
And we don't have any liability if we don't respond, if we don't go, or if we do respond, that doesn't add to, any greater liability for, not doing something we should have done or.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Any other questions for Jessica? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Well, Your Honor, I'll make a motion for the City Council to authorize the mayor's signature on the mutual aid and assistance agreement for Washington State for intrastate water wastewater agency response network.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Poyer, second by Councilmember Huffaker to authorize the mayor's signature on the mutual aid and assistance agreement for the Washington State Intrastate Water Wastewater Agency Response Network. That's a hard thing to say.
Well worn.
Yes.
But no, you guys love acronyms.
Any discussion, further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you
Thanks for
very
being
much.
here tonight. Mr. Aaron Kelly, Cascadia Conservation District. Oh, and Matt Leonard.
I'm going to join too.
Earlier today at Finance, when Matt had forgot to put something in the budget last year, he sent Aaron up to take one for him. Now that he's got
Yeah,
something a little easy to bring in. coming right
Easier,
on
I
up.
figured I'd go with. Yeah, Matt Leonard, Public Works Director.
Aaron Kelly, Operations Manager for Public Works.
So yeah, so Aaron's been doing most of the work on this. This is just an agreement between the city and Cascadia Conservation District. I'll let you kind of give some of the details of it.
So it started with the project for the removal of the junipers on the north end of Wenatchee Avenue and with the Firewise project. And it soon began to escalate that we needed to be able to have some sort of agreement, but then also we noticed that there was other agreements, including some work that we might want to collaborate on for the canyon drains. So this came into that we needed to basically produce an agreement, and been working several different drafts with Steve, and so I'm presenting this to be able to hope to get the mayor's signature or the approval for the mayor to sign.
One of the major benefits for that Cascadia has that we don't is they have more of an ability to work on private property than we do. So that's why the canyon drain item kind of came to light, because it's like, well, they could work, they're a better interface for working with the property owners on getting this stuff done on their property. So this contract's a 5-year contract we can amend it for an extension. We currently don't have any specific task assignments for them yet, but we're working on developing something. And if we do get one, we would, if it's following the purchasing policy, if it's not in our budget, we would come to the finance committee.
So I know we've set aside some money for the junipers removal. Are they going to help us with that? Are they going to provide labor, or are they going to help cover some of the, what's the kind of the plan for that, or how is the Cascadia Conservation District going to help us in that?
We haven't came to an agreement yet.
What are we talking about?
So we had $75,000 total for that project. So initially Cascadia came in with a proposal where they would take care of removing all the junipers and working on re-landscaping it with the folks on Western. I forget
Kind of a
what-
Firewise
Yeah.
sort of a, okay.
And then what the city would be responsible for the traffic control. And being north of Wenatchee Avenue, that's a pretty big number. So I think $75,000 is our total budget. I don't want to spend any other time on this. So I went back and said, you need to do that do the whole project for $75,000. So we're still negotiating that. But if we don't get there on this project,
It'll be something else. Okay.
we'll just do it on something else, and we'll make that a city project. That's.
All right. Any other questions for Aaron or Matt?
Yeah, just, so these projects are things that, like the Juniper project, and these are kind of things that come up. Okay, we don't have, at least don't recollect, we don't have a line item in the budget.
That one we do.
That particular one, but any additional ones would have to be budget amendment kinds of things, okay. Now, how does this figure in? Was it about a year ago that we joined the thing, and so they're basically, we're paying dues or taxes or however you want to call it.
I think it's property tax, isn't it?
Yeah, property tax, yeah. So is there any, I guess, in terms of, if we're paying for the project, what's their side of it in terms, are we getting anything back for our money? I guess that's what I'm really.
And that's kind of why we went back to them on, hey, we need to get more for this, because we are paying into that.
It's fairly substantial.
And kind of one of the big selling points when we were looking at joining them was they were going to take our money and match it and get us a lot more stuff. So we just want to see that a little bit more.
Yeah,
It's a good chance for us to figure out what we're going to get out for our tax contribution.
Hopefully better than the weed control projects and things, Good.
All right, any other questions? If not, I would entertain a motion. I think it's item E in our packet.
I'll make a motion to City Council to authorize the mayor's signature on the interlocal agreement with the Cascadia Conservation District.
Second?
Motion by Councilmember Markart, second by Councilmember Bailey to authorize the mayor's signature on the interlocal agreement with the Cascadian Conservation District. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Mr. Leonard, surplus property.
Yeah, so this is just, we're declaring some items surplus. Some of the items, looks like are at the convention center, were used at the convention center, and also some of them that were the police department's property. So we'll just, once we declare them surplus, we'll go through and put them, we've been having pretty good luck with that, online auction. So we'll just throw them on there and see what we get.
So on some of these, sometimes we see this as a part of the consent item. Is there a reason this showed up kind of down below today?
Not sure.
Okay.
I don't think, I didn't request a consent on this one.
Meat slicers. That's one.
Your Honor, I make a motion that we pass resolution 2018-09 declaring certain personal property surplus to the needs of the city of Wenatchee and authorizing the Department of Public Works to dispose of the personal property identified herein.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Kulas, second by Councilmember Huffaker to adopt resolution 2018-09 declaring certain property surplus to the needs of the city and authorizing the Public Works Department to get rid of it, so to speak.
Mayor, I'm going to excuse myself because I want to bid on some of this. Just to be fair.
Is it the flat top skillet you want to get?
Dance floor.
You have to,
Cookie
yeah,
sheets.
you have
I
to
like
de-
all those signs. I'm thinking I
you
got
have
an
to,
idea.
you have to declare what you're going to bid for here.
I don't know if you can.
Radar units.
I don't know if you
You may
can.
not be able to. You might ask the city lawyer if you get to even bid on this stuff.
Fair enough.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Don't even ask.
All right, mayor's report. I'm not sure where to begin. Spent 3 days last week in Washington, D.C. Met with both of our congressmen, each for about a half hour, Congressman Reichert and Congressman Newhouse. Spent some time with Senator Cantwell's aides, and then she was in the meeting for about the last 10 minutes or so. I did not see Senator Murray. She was busy doing State of the Union stuff, but we did meet with her staff as well. We met with, I was involved in a couple of meetings that Dino Rossi was at as he's running for Congress, and so I was at a few meetings where he was at. And then met with the White House, I don't know the proper term, Steve King, you'll remember it, some sort of a liaison, someone who works for the
Government affairs.
yeah, government affairs, but in the office of the White House. So just talking about Infogrant. I don't know how these things go because I've never been. Our consultant says we did well, but she's supposed to say we're doing well. I can't imagine she's going to say we're doing awful. So I guess we'll know more. Senator Cantwell did respond, and she is going to come into district the last week of February to tour the projects and go over it with us. So that's nice of her to do that. So we'll see. We're continuing to have communications with folks back there. I was in Olympia yesterday. The city's got 5 sort of requests kind of pending in Olympia, and I'll kind of break them up. We've talked about the environmental remediation on the Saddle Rock. It's been here, it was there. We had the money, we didn't have the money, we didn't have the money, we had the money. Well, we don't have the money, well, they're trying to find the money. So $1.2 million to kind of do the environmental remediation and then kind of help with the trail. So that's an ask mostly from the land trust, but obviously since it's a city project or city land, we're kind of part of that. The chamber, along with others, have done a ask for Our Valley, Our Future, $240,000 to fund that program for the next 3 years. So that is an ask that's over there and active. We also have an ask to start the environmental on Confluence Parkway. So we've got a $600,000 ask that would be part of the supplemental transportation budget. So that is over there. There's a small little housing ask for $75,000 that's mostly related to WSU and the Tree Fruit Research Center. And then there's the multiple citywide housing tax rebate bill that is over there. I don't understand Olympia politics, so I can't tell you how any of that stuff is going. We did meet with Senate Transportation Lead, Senator Hobbs. Had 15 minutes with him. I was with Brad quite a bit of the morning, and Mike and Carrie and Anna, who was over there with the Chamber Leadership Group, and Jamie Howell, who was over there for Arts Day, and pretty much most of the city was there. So, again, not sure how that's going. We're monitoring that, getting thank you notes. I was with Jeff Wilkins on that trip. So hopefully get to stay home for a while. I would ask Allison what else is going on, but she's on her way to Costa Rica to a yoga retreat. I think most of the rest of the stuff seems to be going just fine. We'll have work session next week on water and on our kind of the video cameras that we have in the parks and on city buildings and stuff. We've got a budget proviso for this year to put in some additional cameras, and I really wanted the chief and Dale to tell us, well, where are the cameras we have now? What are they doing? What's it cost us? How often are we looking at them before we expand that program a little bit? Tammy, anything else? Steve King, anything else that I missed?
Lots of interest in supercomputing.
Yeah, we're getting just sort of interesting as with Ben Fabian went with us representing Stemelt. He's their real estate guy, so he's the one that kind of did Diamond Foundry and is helping redevelop where we're doing the curb grant. And he's been getting calls pretty regularly because they found out that Diamond Foundry's coming here and using up some power, and Stemelt might have some property. He goes, I'm getting calls 3 or 4 times a week, getting kind of tired of it. All of a sudden, I've gotten 2 calls today and got 2 calls last week and an email, and so we met with a company today. So there's lots of people looking here for you name it, a lot of it associated with blockchain and Bitcoin and that sort of stuff, and businesses around that. So the one company we met with today manufactures 75% of the actual mining machines in the world. They make them. And they make them in China, and they want to make some in America. They might as well make them here. So again, just don't know where any of that stuff goes, just kind of the... So dealing with a lot of that currently after the CNBC stuff. There's going to be an article in the Wall Street Journal either Sunday or Monday regarding kind of a follow-up to the CNBC stuff. And what's kind of going on with Wenatchee, how is it changing our community? And it's not just Wenatchee, it's basically Chelan, Douglas, and Grant counties. But, so if you get excited to get the Monday Wall Street Journal, apparently it'll be in the Sunday online version. Yeah, so just lots of requests and that kind of stuff kind of going on. So, and Finance Committee had a good meeting. They got caught up on lots of stuff. So we'll be going through our next Finance Committee meeting. We'll make all the department heads come in and we'll go through their expenses for last year compared to budget and see how they did. And Mike wants to memorize all the bars codes, so he's pretty excited about all the digits out and stuff. Council members, anything going on your committees or anything for the good of the order?
Well, we had a pretty interesting wellness committee meeting today,
Okay.
and we're going to be working on doing a competition with East Wenatchee for bowling. So we're looking for bowlers.
Okay.
Well, I'm hoping if we can get 2 teams at 5 person each,
Okay.
and that would be great.
Well, depending on when you pick the time to bowl, I would love
Yeah.
to bowl.
Okay.
I may not bowl on a Sunday afternoon, but I might bowl, if there's a chance to bowl during the week, I would like to try that. I'm about 100 on the bowling scale, so put me on.
Handicap wise.
Yeah. Is there a handicap in bowling? Is that the way they do
Yes,
that?
there is. Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
The Frank factor.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah.
our tournament is going to be scratch because some of the people aren't going to have handicaps, and we
Got
don't want people with handicaps to have an advantage.
Okay. So I want to bowl first, then I want one of you guys to have to get the stuff I didn't get, right? Back cleanup.
Clean up better.
Yeah. All right. Anything else for the good of the order? If not, we'll see you all next Thursday. We're adjourned.
Meeting.